Hello, good evening everyone. I hope you all are having a great Saturday so far. Let's wait for a few people to join us before I can start the actual session. Hello, Book Bonanza. Thank you for joining. Good evening. How is your Saturday going so far? Hi, Sana. Thanks for joining. How is your Saturday going? Do you guys have any Valentine's Day plans? I'm waiting for my guest to join the live so I can add him to the session. So today is a very important day for me because this is the 20th episode of the Author Collaborative, and I am so proud of myself for continuing these sessions. They have been very helpful to me. I hope they have been equally helpful to the people who have been watching these videos. Single. That doesn't mean Valentine's Day doesn't mean you have to have a partner. Please, really, you can be single and still celebrate Valentine's Day. Hello, Archana ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's lovely to see you joining the session. I hope you are well. Okay, my guest has joined the live session and I'm going to add him to the live so we can continue here. Hello, Bookish Mind. Thank you for joining. Hi, Abhishek. How are you?
Hi, Monali. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm fine. Happy Valentine's Day in advance.
To you too.
Uh,
So, how? Any plans with your wife and kids? Any Valentine's Day plans?
Not as yet, actually. Sunday is one day where I can get to relax and probably write something.
True. Okay, so before we start the session, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, I am Abhishek. I describe myself as a very ordinary man and a bit of overweight too. That's the way I define myself. I have a moderately successful corporate career. I have worked with large brands like Pepsi and Coke, and yet associated with a very big retail chain in India, based out of Bombay. Writing is one of my passions. Actually, there are three W's that I always live for. And the first one out of that is writing. The second one is work, and the third one is about wanderlust. I love traveling across the globe. In the last 45 years of age, I've traveled about 40 countries, and I want to do 100 before I die. Right. So that's about me. A very happy-go-lucky kind of a person. And I have written my first book, which is Lollipops to Cigarettes, and that's what we're going to discuss with Manali this evening. That's about me, Manali.
That was a wonderful introduction. I'm already inspired by you, and I'm sure those who are listening and who are going to listen later also, they are going to be very excited for the session ahead. So you told us about the book Lollipops to Cigarettes, which is what we are going to talk about in today's session majorly. Before I, go on to ask you questions about the book and about other things, I just want to tell you how much I love the book. It was a wonderful read because I also grew up in the 90s, and you have written so well about that era. Before the internet took over our childhood. And I'm actually glad that we belong to the generation where the internet had not taken over our lives. So thank you for that book. And to whoever is listening to this right now, I would recommend you to check out the book. Abhishek has written a wonderful story about growing up in the 70s to 90s, and it's a great read. So first of all, Abhishek, if you're ready, I am going to bombard a lot of questions because I'm a very curious person and I have a lot of questions to ask you. Are you ready?
Absolutely. I love doing that. Yeah.
Okay, so I just have my laptop open here, and my first question to you actually is that the book in the book the protagonist is actually carrying a very similar name to yourself. So is this a biographical story? And if it is a biographical story, tell us about the part which was the most difficult for you to write and how you went about it.
Many readers, whoever has read within my friends, family, and even the readers unknown to me, has asked me this question. Well, it is almost a biographical story, if I may put it that way. In fact, if you see the Amazon category, I have put it into true accounts. So definitely most of it is true. Some of it is to fiction. Yeah, about I would say 70-80% would be my own biography. Answering the second question, well, there are parts which is was difficult to write, but let me talk about the boldest part of it. If you read chapter number 2, there I am sleeping with a hooker in a hotel room, right? And okay, so that's not easy to write. I was actually frightened that should I do it, because I know a lot of people. I have a corporate know-how also, so there will be a lot of colleagues, a lot of friends, a lot of family who will read that. In fact, I had a long discussion with my wife on writing that before I actually went ahead. But then she told me, listen, not too many Indian men are so bold to stand up and say, yes, I slept with a hooker. So let's go ahead.
That was, in fact, actually a very bold as well as a refreshing chapter to read, because, yeah, as your wife mentioned, not many people can own up to the fact that they have done such a thing in their lives. Yeah, so, okay, moving on to my next question. Do you engage in other forms of writing? And, for poetry, non-fiction, is there anything that you engage in besides book writing? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so this was my first book in English. I do a lot of vernacular writing in Hindi and Bengali, my mother tongue mostly. I had this, knack right from the young age. Mostly, I write limericks. Yeah, so very short poems and funny poems about people. If you ask any of my friends, most of my birthday gifts are not expensive gifts that I buy them. I write the poetry on them for them. And when I go to many friends' houses, they still have my poetries, framed and put on the wall, which was written 30 years ago.
Wow, that must be such an amazing feeling, right? Yeah, so I would love to read your limits. Do you share them somewhere on your social media?
No, not too much actually. I'm not too much of a social media person at all. So I write them on diaries. Some of them I throw them away also, right?
Oh my
After,
God.
and it is mostly people centric. So if I write something for you, on your birthday, it's very centric to you. So that may not make a meaning to somebody else. That's how these are very, very limited writing. So whenever I go in a group, I write about that group. When I go in a picnic, I write about that picnic. So it's very, very centric to a certain event. So they
Okay.
are not publishable, or even if we publish, there's no readers.
So I already know what I'm going to demand from you on my birthday. You know it.
Yeah.
Okay, my next question is, if you're not writing or doing your day job, what is it besides these two activities that you might be found doing?
As I said in my introduction, I live for 3 Ws. So if you take the two away, which is writing and work, the third one remains, which is on the list. I will just wear my track pants, jeans, take a jacket and a backpack and leave for Europe.
Yeah, it's actually not a good time right now, but from March to May, it's the best time to visit Europe. Yeah. So let's hope things become better by then and you can come down. So my next question is, focused on people who are listening and who are also aiming to become writers someday. So what is that writing tip, to someone who hasn't written a book? Maybe even me, because I have not written a novel yet. So what would be that one important tip that you would like to give someone?
Very wrong person to ask this question, because I have written only one novel, and that too about my own life story, so it was easier to write. But one mistake I have made, which I should own up, because if you go to a lot of authors, I also heard a lot of authors before I took up the pen, and there are standard procedures of discipline. Write at least 1 hour in a day. I am the most indisciplined guy in the world, and that too with my work, I really difficult to find that 1 hour. And the frame of mind is very, very different when you are actually presenting a PNL and then coming back and having dinner and trying to write. That's very, very difficult. So one tip that I would give, and I have made a mistake to it, usually first timers, as I have been very excited when the last leg of the publishing came. Now I have a publisher. She has sent me the proofreading and all that. I ignored the editing part of it. I did not take professional help on editing. I tried to do it myself, and in my excitement to publish, I made a lot of mistakes in that book. I mean, punctuation errors and spelling errors. Ultimately, I got it back from readers. There are readers who have actually written that it's a lovely book. Probably a few better editing would have helped. So that was a mistake I have made. So if anybody is going to it, if you do not have the patience, I would recommend hire a professional editor to edit the book.
Okay, that's great advice, Abhishek. Thank you. And I also tell whoever asks me about this because I have also had readers tell me that your book, if it was just a little polished, it would have been better. So that's a great advice. Thank you. My last question to you is, what do you think is more important in this day when the internet has taken up so much of our lives? So what do you think is more important, the content writing or the content selling?
A very lovely question and a tough question. I would say that both are important. Why am I saying this? Because nowadays, once I wrote the book and I started reading, I am not a very avid reader, but when I see, usually now I don't take flights anymore, or at least for 1 year. But all my flights, I have been taking a book from the airport store and reading it. I have read a lot of books which are very poor content, and I do not know how it landed up on that shelf, right? Especially on corporate journals. I am a corporate myself. I see people writing corporate journals who has been kicked out of the job 10 years ago, right? So there are people who actually write, but and very surprisingly reach there on the shelf of the airport is the most costly shelf that you can find for a book. Yeah, nobody lets you be in there unless you are somebody in that line, right? But I still find books there, marketing books and corporate journals and books on lifestyle and whatnot. So I still feel that selling is probably one important task. So even if your content is good, the book industry today, the word of mouth will not help. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So why am I on social media today? It's because of trying to market my book. So I define it as DVS. First D stands for the demand. You have to write for something which is demanded. Right. If I write on a subject which is not demanded at all, then there will be no takers for the book. The second key is about visibility. Okay, that's a way of marketing that you have to have. So if something is visible only, then it will sell. Even the best of companies, if they create a packet of chips and keep it in their closet, then nothing will sell, right? So visibility is the second part, and the S stand for sales. And if you complete the D and V, then only you get the S. Okay. That's how I put it.
Okay. Wow. DVS. I need to remember that. That's a very useful tip. Thank you. So Abhishek, I'm done with my full length questions. The next round we are about to begin is the rapid fire. You have to answer whatever comes to your mind without thinking much. So are you ready?
Okay, go ahead. Let me check how many audience I have. I hope there are no friends and family around. So, you will put it on YouTube also.
Not many people are available to see the live, but people do go back and check on IGTV and YouTube. Whenever the video is uploaded after the live, there are many people who watch. So be careful about what you say. People will definitely watch.
Okay, go ahead.
My first question to you is, would you rather read the book or would you rather watch the movie or series?
As I said, I'm not an avid reader, so I love watching movies. I'm a binge watcher of movies. Movies definitely, or a series definitely would be better. Yeah.
Okay. So what are you likely to do on a weekend when you are not working or writing? Would you socialize with your friends and family, or would you stay at home and chill with the family?
No, it's definitely the second option. I have been accused of not being a very social animal. I love to stay at home with my family, okay, and probably some good single one.
Okay. Okay, so the next question is going to be a little self-evaluation. I'm going to ask you to rate yourself. So you have to rate yourself out of 5 based on the following. First, as an employee.
Well, I don't need to rate myself as an employee because the employers anyway do it. So it would be about, my scorecard says about 4 out of 5. Yeah.
Okay. As a writer.
As a writer, again, Amazon does it for me. If you look at the score, it is 4.7 out of 5.
You're very, smartly dodging away from the question. I'm asking you to rate yourself, but you're pointing towards another source of rating. Very smart. As a husband?
As a husband, so well, that is difficult. Nobody rates you. But I will tell you what, very, very honestly, even if you ask Amitabh Bachchan or Shah Rukh Khan the same question or Tom Cruise the same question, after 20 years of marriage, the wife will always rate you 2 out of 5, no matter how much I rate myself. So I would rather keep with that 2 out of 5 to avoid any conflicts.
And the last one, as a father.
As a father, I personally rate myself 5 out of 5. I live for my son, so he is my first
Okay. So the next question is also a little controversial. A popular book or movie that disappointed you?
priority. Well, one movie I could remember, I would rather ask the payment back for the ticket was Amir Khan and Amitabh Bachchan starrer. I don't know whether you remember it or anybody remembers this. That was called Thugs of Hindustan, right?
I haven't watched it. I'm so thankful. I've heard some pretty awful things about it.
We waited for them for at least 2 months before the release and went first day first show, bunking office, and then I came up with absolute disaster.
Okay. My next question is a little fun. You have to name your next book, but the catch is that you have to name it as I say. You have to, the first word in the title has to be the thing you ate last, and the second word in the title has to be an adjective which defines
What I ate last and what you're saying is how I define myself.
you. Yes, an adjective, which you think defines yourself.
With your permission, I'll switch the order. I would rather say overweight with one peg single malt.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, candid answers. Thank you, Abhishek. So, those were helpful and funny. Now I leave the floor open to you. Since you have also read my book, I am sure you have many questions for you. Go on.
Yeah, definitely. I have a lot of questions. The first question itself goes to your first story itself. That was the first introduction that I have about Manali. And that's the question that I have. In the forward, you had written that you asked your hubby openly that, read my full book. So I wanted to know, it's a personal question, but doesn't love your book or he's not a reader at all?
He doesn't read, and he definitely doesn't read what I write. So yeah, and also in my previous book, wait, I'll just show you. My previous book, I have written this. I'm just going to turn the camera. Yes,
Untold stories.
yes. So this is what the dedication page of Untold Stories looks like. So in the next book, I have continued pulling his leg in the same manner.
I see.
This is Untold Stories, and yeah, that explains the forward in the art of being grateful.
So before I go on to my next question, I would like to tell you that the best part of your book was the last, what you call bonus reads. You had given a couple of lines just about many topics. That was really lovely. It was not that was it's not exactly a limerick like I wrote, but it was so forceful, those lines, and so relevant in context, that I really loved that.
So that's actually kind of my forte. Uh, more for less. I tend to write better when I use lesser words in my writing. So that's what my niche has become now. But I am trying to explore other arenas of writing where I can use more words to write what I want to write.
Okay. So my next question is about your first story. The story, if I remember, it was known as "Warned in Love."
Yes, Wanderlust.
Okay. Maybe my antennas are not too high. I didn't understand that. What exactly happened?
So Abhishek, actually, my intention behind it was, trying to send out a message where we as human beings, we have an intrinsic inner voice which tells us that when a particular person is not right for us, when we are in a relationship, we know when the person is not right for us. But there's this quote from one of my favorite books, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, if you have read and heard about it. The quote goes something like, we accept the love we think we deserve. So that was the whole idea behind Wand of Love. The girl knows that the guy is not right for her. Somehow, her future self calls her and warns her that she's not going to be happy, and it is going to be turning out to be a nightmare. This relationship is not going to end well for her. So that's the whole idea behind it. Also, I have added the thriller part, taking inspiration a little bit from Karthik calling Karthik.
I see. So
That
another story that I wanted to ask you on a question is that surprisingly from a woman author, this was a man-centric story. The relation between the father and the son. I think it was Witness or No Witness was the name of the story. So what is your comment? How did you think of that kind of a? Do you have a son?
no, we do not have children yet. But I have been writing short stories from quite a few years now, and many of them have been written from the male protagonist point of view. So I didn't find it very difficult to have two men of different ages as my protagonist in that story.
Okay, because I have a relation with the father and the son, so that was one of the most touching stories that I had read in the
Thank you so much.
entire book. Yeah.
That means that I have written it well. Thank you. I my purpose is solved.
So my last question to you would be that what was your first trigger to write your first book? Did you always want to write, or suddenly you felt चलो कुछ लिखते हैं? How did it happen?
No, so poetry I have been writing since I was a teenager. And there was always this thought behind, writing that one day there will be a book under my name. Ever since, I picked up my first book and fell in love with reading, there was always this ambition to have a book under my name as well. So there was never that trigger that चलो आज book लिखते हैं. लिखना तो था ही कभी ना कभी, but I was, trying to compile content and make it worthwhile to be turned into a book. That was it.
Okay. So what about some rapid fire questions from my side?
Yes, I think you had one more question where you wanted to ask me about.
Yeah, you had written, that's about your the last part when you had introduced yourself. You said, I'm asking this as a corporate, because that you said, full-time job is not your cup of tea. So why so? Because I actually, propagate a lot of diversity in my work arena. Also, I love seeing women on the top. So why suddenly you said that you don't want to have a full-time job?
Okay, firstly, the main reason was that I could not find a job which satisfied me as an employee, as a professional. I was not satisfied by the jobs that I had done till the time I turned 28, and by that time I had a clear idea in my head about also the fact that I would not be able to thrive creatively if I work in a job kind of a setting. That was the whole idea behind quitting a full-time job. Yeah. Also, the major third thing is that besides writing, I don't think I can do anything as well as I do writing. So that would have been unfair to whoever I was employed under.
Okay, great. So now coming to the rapid fire questions, if you go on a holiday on a beach with one author, who would be the one?
Does it have to be a male author?
No, it may not be.
Then I would say J.K. Rowling, without a doubt, because I am fascinated by her. And if I had to choose an Indian author, I would say Arundhati Roy.
I see. Okay, both are great choices actually. Actually, I went to that cafe in Scotland where J.K. Rowling had started writing his first book.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, her first book.
I'm jealous of you now. Even being in Europe, I have not been able to explore much because of this COVID times, but I'm hoping soon we'll be able to explore Europe.
Yeah. Again, you asked me on, I talked to you about films. So there are certain films, of course, where we, at least as teenagers, we have watched it along many times over, like the Maine Pyar Kiya, Sholay, even Three Idiots very recently. What would be your book equivalent to a Sholay kind of a film, which you have read many times over?
It would be by the same two authors which I, wanted to live on an island with. Arundhati Roy and J.K. Rowling. So Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling. Yes, I have read it multiple times already. And Arundhati Roy's book, which I have read 2-3 times already, is The God of Small Things. Because I think for anybody who doesn't belong to India and wants to understand the caste system, that's a recommended read. In case you haven't read it yet, I would definitely recommend it.
I have not. I usually don't read female authors too much. Harry Potter, of course, I do it, but not the Arundhati Roy's book.
Yeah, so God of Small Things is one book by her which you definitely should read.
Okay. So when do we see a novel from you? That's my third question.
I am actually very glad that you asked me this question, and today of all days, because I am very soon announcing something very exciting. And in fact, I am very excited about it because it is the first time I am doing something like this. And to answer your question, very soon.
What will it be on, if I may ask? Just the theme of the novel.
I don't want to give away too much, but it would be a contemporary romance kind of a thing.
So it's a fiction novel, basically.
Sorry?
It's a pure fiction novel.
Yeah, fiction, pure fiction.
Yeah. So now two questions that I usually ask when I am on the interview board. This tells a lot about how people think about their past life and their future lives.
Okay.
Uh, what if God let you change one event of your past life? Any one event. It could be anything. So what would you change?
I think the most important decision of my life, in anybody's life, especially in India, comes after their 10th results are declared and they have to choose a particular stream, whether to go in science, commerce, or arts. I would like to go back and
Mhm.
change that decision because I took up commerce and then I had to, you know, jumble here and there a lot before figuring out that I want to become a writer. So I think it would have benefited me a lot if I had done 11, 12 arts instead of commerce.
Okay. Okay. And my last question on this round would be: what if you got Aladdin's genie on the lamp, and you have right to choose three boons in life? Anything that a genie can give you. So what would you ask for?
Firstly, the ability to go on without sleeping, because I am not much of a sleeper. I consider that, we are wasting a few precious hours of living life if we are sleeping too much. Secondly, I would like another me, probably, who can take care of the domestic chores so that I can read and write as much as I want to. And I'm not sure about the third one. I'm pretty satisfied with my life. So these are the only two things that I grumble about on a daily basis. So I don't think I have any other third wish. Probably for the corona to lift so that I can travel again.
So you don't want an unlimited bank account.
Sorry?
You don't want an unlimited bank account.
I don't believe in happiness being directly proportional to money. No.
Great. That's about it from my side on the rapid fire rounds. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Abhishek. This was like a wonderful conversation. I learned a lot, and your answers were really candid and funny. And to all the viewers who joined us today, thank you for joining. And if you have missed out on this conversation, the video will be available on my IGTV and my YouTube channel. I'll be uploading them right away. And Abhishek, you may also be able to catch these videos, the video later. So thank you for joining,
Yeah.
and happy Valentine's Day to you and your family. Bye.
Thanks. Have a nice day.
Yeah,
Okay.
bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.